Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the Spring 2024 Student Organization Treasurers Training. My name is Amy Freeman. I am the business manager for student activities. My job is to help you manage your student org accounts, and I act as a guide on financial processes. I also have a student employee in my office who works a couple days a week. She acts as my assistant. That's Morgan Bennett. Many of you may know her already, seen her around campus or whatnot, but she or I will be the ones who you will mostly communicate with regarding any kind of financial processes. My office resides within the Center for Student Involvement in 241 Kennedy Union. The CSI office hours are my working hours. I respond to emails during this time, trying to reply the same day, but generally you can expect to hear from me within 1 to 2 business days. Everyone here should be a treasurer or an officer affiliated with a student organization. This training will walk you through the most common financial activities of student organizations. Next week, we'll have a virtual training session. Excuse me, last Friday we had an in-person meeting, and this is the last session for this semester for the treasurer's training. And since it is going to be recorded, it will be uploaded to YouTube within the next week or so. And at that time, we'll put up an alert, and if you ever need to fall back on this training, it'll be available to you. So just a few things to go over. This meeting is scheduled for about 90 minutes, but I anticipate it will only go for about an hour. I do ask that you save questions for the end. We have a lot of information to cover, and hopefully by the end of it, I will have answered your question. But at any rate, I do allow some time at the end if you do have anything you'd like to ask. I also have a QR code at the end for you to scan to register your attendance today. And if for whatever reason you need to leave early, you can email studentorgsmoney@udayton.edu and just let me know your name and the orgs that you're representing today so I can document your attendance. Quick disclaimer is that although the information today applies to all student organizations, there may be some differences in procedures for sport clubs or values-based fraternity and sorority life organizations, depending upon whether additional oversight is required or if your organization needs to adhere to different or additional policies. Excuse me. Even Evan Englander oversees the value-based fraternities and sororities, and Drew Salvador oversees sport clubs. So be on the lookout for communication from those individuals about policies and procedures related to your organization. Additionally, CSI also holds 2 presidents meetings each semester that are presented by Morgan Miller. While I handle the financial activities of student organizations, Morgan oversees the other administrative functions of orgs that are geared towards the presidential duties. And if you have any questions regarding event registrations, travel rosters, flyer approvals, things like that, you can reach out to Morgan directly for some direction. After the training today, you should receive an email prompting you to provide some feedback on this training. If you have some requests on the content to add to this training that you feel is overlooked, or if you have ideas for topics or short how-to videos or any kind of idea that you might have that would enhance your experience as a treasurer, please take a moment to fill this feedback form out and leave your comments. Our goal is to prepare you for your role as a treasurer, so we welcome any ideas you have on how to improve that experience. And taking a look at our agenda, we're going to go over today about the Blue Sky Initiative. We're going to talk about student org accounts, your role as a treasurer. We'll talk about how you manage your money within 1850. We'll talk about making purchases and requesting reimbursements, how to accept funds or deposit money, and we'll go over some funding opportunities that are available for student organizations. And I'd like to do an 1850 runway demo. 1850 has been acting a little strange the past couple of days, so I'm hoping that that holds up and that we can go over it, but if not, not a big deal. The runway, I think, would be the most important anyway. And then, of course, at the end, we'll leave some time for questions and we'll take attendance with the QR code. So let's talk about Blue Sky just briefly here. UD is invested in the success of all students, and this Blue Sky initiative.
What?
Oh.
No, what do you need?
Hold on a second. Let's, if you can, could you please mute your speaker?
How do they not put tires on the right way? How do you not put tires on the right way?
Oh, hold on here. Okay. Sorry for that interruption, but anyhow, UD is invested in the success of all students. This initiative was created as a way to engage students who, for whatever reason, may struggle to connect with the numerous resources the university has to offer. So Blue Sky is seeking to ensure every undergraduate engages in a high impact experiential learning experience. And they go about this by connecting each student with a learning partner or someone who's a little more seasoned, probably a junior or senior, who can help students navigate to UD resources for academic and personal success. And regardless of your knowledge of Blue Sky, UD is asking students to take this survey here through the QR code, so that we can better understand the need of some of the students and how to make Blue Sky a little more successful, especially for our students, not just for UD. It is a quick survey, and we encourage you to share it with your org members as well, so we can get as much information and feedback as possible. So moving into the content of Treasurer's Training, let's begin by defining student org accounts. Student organizations are important parts of the University of Dayton community. Financial activity of the clubs on campus are seen as financial activity of the university. Therefore, it is important that treasurers or anyone else who makes purchases on behalf of a student organization exercise sound judgment when executing or authorizing expenditures, regardless of the source of funds. Also, purchasing decisions should be made being mindful of the university's mission and commitments and university spending policies. All student organizations are assigned a unique focal string. This accounting code represents where the organization's money sits within the general ledger. The general ledger is the complete record of all university financial transactions. All policies and procedures, if you need them, are documented in 1850 in the Student Organization Resource Guide, which we also refer to as the SORG, and I'll show you where that's at here a little bit later. Your responsibility as a treasurer is to oversee the management of the financial affairs of your organization. You will add financial transactions in 1850, keeping in mind that the general ledger does not immediately communicate with the 1850 platform. Nevertheless, it is crucial that the treasurer or officers report all activity in 1850, which we'll walk through a little bit shortly. You will also be completing purchasing or delegating purchasing to other student members. And you will be responsible for managing cash flow, tracking your revenue and expenses by reconciling your records against the transactions in 1850. Managing your student org finances is accomplished in a handful of ways. First, you have 1850. This platform defines and tracks your student org members' events and your financial activity. You'll use 1850 to make requests, to spend money, track your balances, and utilize the student organization financial management tool. Runway is another platform that helps execute expenditures by generating purchase orders and after the fact payment requests. You'll use Runway to submit requisitions, and later 1850 is updated with transaction detail. We always say the key word here is later. It's not immediate. And this is why we urge you to keep your own personal record of purchases to prevent overspending. Runway can also be used to process reimbursements for expenses made by students for their group, keeping in mind that the university does not reimburse for sales tax. And the CSIP card is another purchasing option. CSI has 3 purchasing cards available on a first come, first served basis. And they come with their own set of special rules that we'll go over a little bit later. And the last activity option here is depositing money. Again, this is just a start of a list, and we're going to start expanding on it as we move on. Little 1850 overview here. When we go over the demo later, we'll cover, provided 1850 is working, we'll cover how to update your officers. If you have not updated your role as a treasurer yet, please do that as soon as possible. We'll also cover the financial management tool that's in 1850 and the financial request form, as well as some other functions. If you're not familiar yet, you can access 1850 by logging into 1850.udayton.edu. This page here is an example of your welcome page. Again, this is where you will originate almost all of your financial requests. So I urge you to log on and spend some time getting acquainted with its functions if you haven't done so already. Just a little quick to point out though, on the front page, you will have underneath this orange bar some announcements that you can check on weekly. In the middle here under the green bar, that is your SORG. That is the Student Organization Resource Guide. If you need to find policies on events, travel, spending money, and so on, this is where you can go and find all the policies related to student organizations on campus. And the financial management tool, this is one place you can access it. Again, that's going to be where you will go if you need guidance on how to make a transaction. It'll give you step by step and lead you right through it. Very helpful. Down below, and there are many more below this, but there are some forms and how-tos down in the Student Organization Officer Resources area. If there's videos on how to build a store, if you need to do that in 1850, and then I believe there's some other forms for setting up events and such, as well as travel, etc. So the financial management tool, you know, I think the most important things for treasurers in 1850, one is the financial management tool, and then also the financial request form. This is an example here of the financial management tool. It's a tool that is designed to walk you through step by step any of the financial transactions you're trying to make. You'll find this tool not only on the main page of 1850, but you can also find it in your organizations page under the accounting book and under the budgeting tabs. It's a big red button. It's real easy to find, and later, hopefully I'll be able to show you some examples of its use. And as you can gather too from this screenshot, the tool just begins by asking you some questions, and based on your answer, it's going to start pointing you in the right direction on how to make your transaction. The financial request form, as mentioned, all purchase requests must be submitted through an 1850 form. That financial management tool, the red button, will lead you to this blue button that's right below. That's the financial request form. It says request a payment there. Yeah, the financial management tool will will show you how to operate that. But you can access it directly if you are comfortable with the process. As you get more comfortable with it, you probably won't need the financial management tool anymore, and you can just go directly through this blue button. Both of the functions are shown here under the Money tab under Budgeting. These tools, again, asking you about the transaction you want to make, and based on your answers will point you to the right options pertaining to your request. So if you're trying to reserve a P card, based on your answers, the tool's not going to send you to rent a vehicle and or whatnot. Please always start with that red button if you are still getting acquainted with 1850. And after you submit your requests, it shows up in the CSI workflow where our staff, which is usually me, will communicate approvals, denials, requests for corrections, or more information. Typically, we try to work with you to approve a request rather than deny them. And the FOPL, that's an acronym. It stands for Fund, Organization, Account, Program, Activity, Location. This is your org's account number. This accounting string tells the accounting system how to allocate any of your revenue or expenses. So for example, if you're trying to rent a space on campus, facilities may ask what FOPL to charge to, and that's what you will have to find in 1850 using that financial management tool. I'll show you how to find it later, but just to go over how to break down this FOPL, the fund number usually begins with an 8 for student organizations. That is going to be specific to your organization. The organization code, that is going to tell me whether you're a sport club or if you're a student organization. The account code, this one varies depending upon the expense. So, if you're making a deposit, it's going to be, 632000. If you want to purchase supplies or travel or whatnot, those codes are all different, and there is a way that you can find the codes, and we'll go over that a little bit later. But just so you get familiar with how the FOPL works, we just want to touch on it. And these last three, the program, activity, location, those typically always stay the same for student organizations. Moving on to P cards. P cards are our most popular form of spending because they're so easy. The CSI office has 3 purchasing cards available for approved non-runway purchases. This comes in handy for in-store purchases or online purchases where no sales tax is applied. For example, making a purchase at Joann Fabrics for craft supplies for an event you have, that would warrant the use of a P card. And when you pick up, we have all the tax forms that you would need to make a tax-free purchase. To reserve the card, students fill out usually it's the treasurer, fills out a financial request form in 1850. That's that blue button we just talked about. If you're approved, you'll receive an approval email confirming the time and the date that you can come pick up the card from the CSI office. The number of cards are limited and available on a first come first served basis. And we have nearly 300 student organizations, so planning ahead is really important. The purchaser will be asked to read and sign a P card acknowledgement form before leaving with the P card. This acknowledgement will list all the rules associated with using a university P card. I'm going to go over a few things here. Just realize access to these P cards, it is a privilege for our student organizations. So it is the responsibility of purchasing orgs to follow the rules and regulations associated with the P cards. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlighted things because either they are frequent offenders or they are newer items. So first of all purchases must be tax exempt. Only the individual who checked out the P card is authorized to make purchases, so please do not trade your card around within your group. No additional purchases will be made outside of the 1850 request. For example, if you told me you were going to go to the grocery to pick up donuts for your meeting, but you then turn around and also purchase some lodging for a trip that's coming up, that's a big issue. Our P cards have limits that we have to kind of pay attention to, and that might interfere with some of the other things we have planned. Also, travel has its own set of approvals, so it needs to go through a different avenue. At any rate, please stick to the purchase that you have signed for when you picked up the card. If you do purchase gift cards, no cards can be over $100 per recipient. And because gift cards are considered taxable income, you must report to me with the recipient's name, UD email, and UID number if it's a student. And a big one down here is no catering or carry out permitted on a P card. You must use America to Go. That is a university policy. For example, a lot of students would love to purchase from Bill's Donuts. We would love nothing more for you to get those donuts. However, Bill's Donuts does not really want to go into contract with UD. So we cannot allow you to use a P card to purchase those donuts. You must use America to Go, which is available through Runway, or you must use a grocery store to pick up those donuts. And if you ever have a question, you can always reach out to me and I can let you know, whether or not it's acceptable. Continuing on, when you return the card, the original itemized tax exempt receipt must be submitted when you return that P card, and P cards are always due back by 10 a.m. the following business day after you check it out, unless we have another agreement. Sometimes students are like, hey, I can't get out of class until 10:30 or, whatnot, and we can make an agreement, but otherwise 10 a.m. the following business day after checkout. And if these policies are not followed, student organizations, they're responsible for correcting them. So if you bring back a receipt that has sales tax, I have to have you turn around, go back to the store and have that sales tax removed. If this isn't done in a timely manner or at all, your organization could be penalized by losing P card privileges. Moving on to Runway. Runway is the university's e-procurement site. This is where you can make purchases from approved vendors or suppliers, is what we call them. Through Runway, orgs can pay national dues, pay registration fees, request reimbursements, make donations to external organizations, etc. All students are assigned a shopper role. If you create a cart on behalf of your student organization, you should assign the cart to me, Amy Freeman. If you are a sport club, you will assign it to Drew Salvador. And if you're not familiar, to log into Runway, you can access the button through Porches. This is the main page of Porches here as an example. And down here underneath where you see your email, it'll be one of those blocks down there. You can click that or hit go into your browser and type in go.udayton.edu/runway and I'll get you there. Reimbursements. Purchases should be made in Runway through a vendor or by P card as a first choice. However, there are occasions where reimbursement can be requested for student org members. All non-travel reimbursements are processed in Runway, keeping in mind the following. Reimbursements will not be approved if they violate university purchasing policy. Payees are called suppliers in Runway, and students are not automatically set up as a supplier and has to be requested by the student. Students cannot process a reimbursement until they are set up as a supplier. If a student needs to be set up as a supplier, they can sign into Runway and select add a supplier. I'll show you an example of this later. Then you can follow the prompt to complete the setup. Essentially, it's your taxable personal information. Usually takes a few business days. If everything is in good order, it takes a few business days to complete. So it's a fairly quick turnaround time. Again, that financial management tool, that's that red button we looked at, that'll walk you through this process if you need it. And again, sales tax is not a reimbursable expense. So if you submit a receipt with sales tax and runway to accompany a reimbursement request, you will only be reimbursed for the subtotal or before tax amount. Next, we'll start discussing types of income or revenue. There are a few different ways to earn income. Orgs will typically collect membership membership dues or donations. There's fundraising activities you can do to raise money, charging event entry fees, or university account transfers. That's another way to get some revenue. If another department is funding activities for you, they can transfer money into your 1850 account. In order, when we talk about donations and them being tax deductible, in order to give a receipt for a tax deductible donations, donations must be made through university advancement. These types of donations can be paid by check or credit card at go.udayton.edu/give. Just make sure your donors put your org's name in the comments so it gets allocated appropriately. Donations not requesting a tax deduction can be deposited directly into the student org's funds. So you can bring those directly into CSI and can handle that. Example, if your parents just want to write you a check for $20 for your org, that's fine. You can bring that into CSI, no problem. We'll deposit that for you. But if a company wants to make a sizable donation and they're requesting, some sort of tax incentive, they must go through university advancement. Moving on to fundraising. Funds collected by your organization on behalf of another nonprofit organization should not be deposited. We encourage you to send them directly to the nonprofit. However, if you have raised funds through an event and you wish to donate to another organization, just understand that the receiving organization must be set up as a supplier in Runway. There must be an invoice to accompany the payment request, and sometimes you have to create that yourself. Microsoft Word has templates, quick and easy, 4 or 5 minutes and you're done. But at any rate, you can always contact me for guidance on that. No problem, I'm happy to help. TouchNet. This is a new function offered to student orgs to make selling products a little bit easier. This may be good for you if you have an event where you're selling t-shirts or baked goods so that buyers can scan a code and to pay as opposed to logging into 1850 to access your store's, your organization's store, which can sometimes be cumbersome. So for example, if any of you bought a Christmas on Campus shirt this last semester, this was the process that they use. So it would be a similar process. The good thing is that money goes directly into your org funds in 1850. Sometimes if you get money through an 1850 store, you have to wait a couple days for it to be deposited, but TouchNet is supposed to put things right into your org funds. And if you are interested in this function, you can contact CSI and we can try to help you build a store. Making deposits into a student organization account. All income that's generated should be deposited in your student org account within 2 days of collection.
I do. You use it? I just got it.
Hold on here.
Great.
Supposed to have everyone silenced and I can't get it. Can you all make sure that your microphones are off, please? I'm getting some feedback here.
Yeah, I'm not doing thanks. Yeah, let me know what Kate responds with too. Yeah.
I can't seem to get it to work. So any rate, moving on. Okay, so you should be depositing your funds within 2 days of collection. Cash or checks can be brought into CSI to Kennedy Union 241. Please do that during regular business hours. I do not have any kind of drop box for you. Checks should be made out to the University of Dayton - your club's name. And important to note, funds not deposited through this established procedure cannot be guaranteed trackable by CSI. You are welcome to take your deposits to Student Flyer Services, but they do not track the same way that I do. So if we ever have questions about anything, they're not going to have the same information that I will have to try to track down and make any kind of corrections. 1850 also, if you create a store in 1850, it can be set up for accepting credit cards. Lots of orgs do this to collect membership dues. If you are interested in this, you can reach out to CSI for guidance. We'll help you out. Moving on to imprinting, UD now has 2 approved vendors for imprinted goods. If your group is interested in having t-shirts, sweatshirts, or any other apparel or promotional items made, these are the vendors you will use. For OmniSource, you can visit promo.udayton.edu, or there is a punch out and runway that you can go to. If you need help with designs and so forth, you can email Megan or Joanne directly at the emails here. Also, if you are the recipient of Pepsi grant funding this semester, this is a vendor that you will use. They are the only one so far that is approved to use the Pepsi logos. And then University Tees, that is our newest vendor for imprinted goods. It's becoming very popular. They do not have a punch out yet in Runway, but you can visit their website here on the screen, or you can email Maggie Phelps. Her email is also on the screen. She does have a couple of students on campus who kind of act as her, they work for her, and she'll hook you up with someone and get your items made. And like I said, it's becoming a very popular service. They have a pretty decent and quick turnaround time and competitive prices. So like we always say with anything imprinted, please plan ahead for the best pricing and to make sure that you do get your order in time for your event. Travel. All travel requires completion and approval of event registration and risk management forms. You must have the event approved in 1850 before reserving any lodging, transportation, or paying registration fees. Once approved, student organizations must submit a financial request for travel purchases in 1850. If you're not sure how to begin, you'll start by using that student organization financial management tool. It'll guide you through the process of booking plans, such as lodging or transportation. A special note though, student organizations cannot travel with a P card to charge additional travel expenses, nor can they make a cash withdrawal. So should a traveler incur expenses such as mileage or fuel, meals and parking, taxis, etc., they can request to be reimbursed through a travel expense reimbursement form, which is accessible through the 1850 financial request form. Chrome River is slated to replace this process by fall, but for now we're going to stick with this process until the university says otherwise. Original itemized receipts are required to be submitted with reimbursement requests for travel. And if you go that route, you can email after you submit your travel expense reimbursement form, you can email supporting receipts to me or Drew if you are a sport club. And again, purchases must follow all university and CSI policies and guidelines. Example, alcohol is not a reimbursable expense. Lodging and airfare. After receiving approval for your event, you can then proceed to booking your accommodations using that financial management tool. It'll guide you through that process, like we said. And then it registers in our workflow so that we know that there's something that needs attention. For lodging, the financial management tool will ask you to visit the hotel booking site. This one is through like a university hotel booking site, so it runs a lot like Travelocity or Expedia. It's going to ask you to enter in all your info, and what location you're traveling to, and that's going to give you a selection of hotels based on your information. Once you select your stay and submit it, the request comes to me to complete with a CSIP card. Alternatively, if you should contact CSI, if you are receiving a block rate or a discounted rate through an event sponsor, and in that case, we just set you up with a regular P card to make that purchase. For airfare, the financial management tool is going to ask that you find your own flights, and then through the tool, you should be able to complete the we made a new flight spreadsheet that should have all the information that you would need to complete for us to make the purchase of flights. Essentially, you complete the spreadsheet with every traveler's name and personal information. When you submit it, we then forward it to Options Travel, which is through the university. I'll copy you on all the correspondence, and then the fees generally come directly from your 1850 organization funds. So no P card involved there. Moving on to ground transportation, there's a couple of options should you need a vehicle for travel. The first option is university vehicles. This is a low or no cost option for organizations, and they do provide different types of vehicles from automobiles to passenger vans. Gas cards are provided with university vehicles, and this is nice, so you don't have to submit fuel receipts with a TER form when you return from your trip. Quantity is limited though, so planning's key. And there are 3 ways that you can reserve a UD vehicle. First, you can go directly to the vehicle rental request form. You can search that term in Porches. Be sure to list your faculty or staff advisor's name in the comments so that purchasing can reach out to them and finalize the reservation. Another option, your faculty or staff advisor can reach out to Sandra Harris directly in purchasing via her email here on the screen. And if you have a last minute emergency situation, Sandra asks that you that your advisor actually call her at the number here on the screen, and she'll try to help you the best way she can. Please know that all drivers must complete a UD driver certification, which I'll give a little more detail about in the next slide. But just a note to please tidy up the vehicle before you return it by removing all the trash and just treating the vehicle kindly like you would treat your own. This is a wonderful privilege extended to our students, so just be mindful of this when using the vehicle so orgs can continue to enjoy the service. Alternatively, the university does have a contract with Enterprise Rental Car. To reserve a vehicle, you can fill out the financial request form in 1850 and select the options for Enterprise Rental Car. From there, you'll choose your vehicles, select the time and date for pickup and return. It is required that there are at least 2 certified drivers per reservation through Enterprise. Once you submit your request in 1850, it will appear in the CSI workflow where our staff will contact Enterprise to complete your reservation. Generally, we select reservations at the Dayton Mall location, but that just depends on vehicle availability. And the driver certification that we talked about, drivers must be 21 years of age or older. And the link to complete the certification can be found on the Audit, Risk, and Compliance page, or you can search driver certification on the UD website. And just some miscellaneous information here. Like we said before, University of Dayton is a 501c3 tax exempt organization, so no sales tax can be included on purchases except for in the case of fuel. We kind of went over the gift tax a little bit. Cash prizes or gift cards greater than $1 are considered a gift and taxable for each recipient. So gift cards cannot exceed $100 per excuse me, per recipient. And like I said before, you can email me with the recipient's name, UD email, and UID of the recipient should you award gift cards as prizes, because it is taxable and the university has to keep track of that. All non-cash awards, gifts, or prizes valued at $100 or more are considered taxable, and the same reporting would have to take place if you made a purchase like that. Any contract, when it comes to contracted services, the only person who can sign for that is the executive director of CSI. That's Amy Lopez Matthews. These are agreements for things like speakers, bus rentals, or venue rentals. So just keep that in mind should you have a contract that needs to be formalized. So moving on to funding opportunities. Currently, we have 3 options. There's Student Government Association, or SGA. We have Pepsi grant funding and flyer funders. So let's talk a little bit about these. SGA. Right now, Spring Funding Week is opened through January 22nd, which I believe is Monday. Organizations are eligible for up to $1,000 in funding. Must use these funds within this semester, though. It does not roll over. I believe when you get your approval email, if you do get an award, it will give more details about when to use your funds by, but typically it's right before or the week after, I'm sorry, exams, but please check your emails. That I don't manage SGA, but you can get more information when they send you your award letter. Special request funding, the application period is open through April 8th. You can be eligible for up to another $1,000, but you must apply for the spring funding first. And then student engagement grants, you can apply for that also by January 22nd. This is for individual students to apply, not for your organization to apply. This is for up to $250 a year, and it goes to individuals. It'll go to your organization, but it's on behalf of an individual. Say you have dues that someone can't quite afford, they can go in and apply for the student engagement grant to cover their dues to the organization. And as I said, I don't manage SGA funding, and I don't do any of the approvals. But if you do have questions about SGA, please email sgafinance@udayton.edu, or you can visit their office down the hall from CSI and KU 206. Pepsi funding, it is now open as well. Please check your weekly student leader email to access the link that'll take you to a Google form to apply for up to $500 of Pepsi funding for your org's event or program. Please make sure that you're accessing this form through your UD email, otherwise it will not work. The form will be closing at the end of business on Friday, the 19th. So just in a couple of days. Our team then will review the applications the following week. And if your funding request is approved, you'll receive an email from CSI with the details of your award by the following Friday, which I believe is September, or no, I'm sorry, not September. That's an old note. That would be the 26th. So like the SGA award, these funds also do not roll over into the next semester. So please try to use them up by the end of the spring semester. And again, you'll get an approval email with more details on when the cutoff date is for that. And if you have any questions, I do manage the Pepsi funding. Oops. I do manage the Pepsi funding for CSI, so you can either contact me directly or you can email studentorgsmoney@udayton.edu and I'll get that email as well. Next is Flyer Funder. This is the latest flyer that they gave me. This is funding that's available from the Department of Annual Giving, so not funding that's managed by CSI, but it is available for you to pursue if it meets your needs. The deadline to apply for this is Tuesday, February 6th. And if you would like to learn more about this or apply, you can visit your.udayton.edu/crowdfunding, or you can email flyerfunder@udayton.edu. And with that, I'm going to try to come over here and start the 1850 demo real quick. Fingers crossed that it is working. Okay, so far so good. Okay, so again, this is your home page. Earlier I went over your announcements. Your SORG is here in the middle. Your financial management tools quickly right here on the main page. But let me, let's start by finding a group. I'm going to use Society of Automotive Engineers. They were kind to allow me to use them as an example. Great, so far so good. All right, so this is what a landing page will look like. Usually your most recent boxes will be here in the middle, but everything's over here on the left. Let's go up to the dashboard and let's check our officers. This is where you will go to up here in the corner. You can add yourself as an officer. You can change people's positions within this form here. Again, we would like for you to update this as soon as possible if you haven't done so already. The preference is to have a set president or treasurer, but not all orgs are set up like that. So in that case, just select officer as your position and we'll try to accommodate you when sending out information. And then over on the left, we'll slide down is the money tab. And that's going to take us to our accounting book. Here you'll also notice that financial management tool is accessible on this page. That big red button, you can't miss it. But the accounting book here, this is where you can see your org's ledgers for revenues, expenses, and then total balances. If you have special funding, you've got those right above your org ledger. The Pepsi funding, though, a lot of people say, where's my Pepsi funding? Generally, if you get awarded Pepsi funding and you make purchases against it, I just allocate it using the Pepsi FOPL, and I just charge the expense to that FOPL, and I keep track of it to make sure we don't go over. So if you get $500, I'll make sure that $500 of it goes to the Pepsi FOPL, and if you spent $600, that other extra 100 would then come out of your organization ledger here, your org funds. Down below the accounting book, you have your transactions. This is pretty much your ledger of expenses and revenues, all your activity. Understand that transactions may not show up right away. I mentioned that earlier. So it is the treasurer's responsibility to track the financial activity so you don't end up in a deficit. For example, P cards, they update usually within the second week of the following month. So any P card transactions in January will close at the end of the month. And then we do our first round of reconciliations as an office here, send it to the university that first week of February. And then the university will then update the general ledger and update 1850, usually by the second week of the following month. Department transfers is another instance where that doesn't happen immediately. The budget office usually does transfers once a month. So that happens towards the end of the month. So if you happen to ask for something on the very last day of the month, transfers will probably have already happened. They usually happen the third week or so. So you might not see it until the next month when they do the next round of transfers. However, if we do know a transfer is coming and you're low on funds, we don't mind that you spend against it and go a little bit red for a second because we know the funds are coming. So it's not, we usually work around it. Let me see here. And always, if you find an error while you're reconciling, please reach out to studentorgsmoney@udayton.edu so we can research it and make any necessary adjustments. So let's go back over here. We're under the money tab. Here's the accounting book. So I'm going to go to budgeting now. You'll see another link here for the financial management tool, but then here's that request a payment button. That's your financial request form. That's the button where you will make all of your financial requests, especially for P cards or a GFS card. You'll go in there to tell me that you've made a runway cart. You'll build your travel reimbursement reports here and so on. So let's real quick, I'm just going to show you this financial management tool. This is that red button. Again, it's going to ask you what tasks you want to perform. And then in this case, let's find a FOPL so that you know how to do that. This is a quick and dirty way to find it. I'm going to go organization funds, and I'm going to say make a deposit into my org account. I'm going to use Society of Automotive Engineers. And then this is what a deposit envelope looks like. And right here by FOPL, obviously you're going to have your FOPL string. This 632000, that indicates it's a deposit. Again, if you're making other transactions, this is the code that's going to vary. And I'll show you when we get to the runway portion how you can look for codes, because obviously you're going to be, you'd have to make a guess otherwise. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. And then you can see here too that you can ask, like, here's where it would give you some advice on how to request a reimbursement. And we'll just go through this real quick. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but just to show you a little bit. This is correct. Request a reimbursement. So this is what the tool does. Once you've kind of told it what you're trying to do, it's going to start telling you how to do a reimbursement. It's going to eventually tell you got to go to Runway. It's going to give you the website. It's going to show you how to check for whether or not a supplier is in Runway, and if they're not, how to request a new supplier. So it's just going to walk you all the way through step by step. I'm going to say they are in Runway. Continue to assign cart. So when you are in Runway, and I said it before, but worth repeating, when you get to the assign part, just walking you through accounting codes. When we get to this assign part, you will assign carts to me if you're an organization, or to Drew Salvador if you are a sport club. And that will submit, show you how to submit the cart. And then eventually it says, hey, go back to 1850, go to that blue tab in that request a payment button, that financial management tool, and make sure that you fill that out to let CSI know that you've submitted a Runway cart. So just an example of how the tool works and showing you that the examples and with words and pictures. So it's good all the way around, very helpful. Okay, so let's go back here. So real quick, let's do, before we leave 1850, I'm going to show you how to request a P card. So we're going to say that we use the financial management tool, and it told us to come to this blue button. So we're clicking on that. And essentially, I'm just gonna select a random group here. You will select organization funds. In this case, we'll say we're making a purchase for other goods and services. We're gonna get a P card. And in this case, we're gonna go in store. Usually we only use the online. If you know, usually online is only used for Target and Walmart purchases where I have a tax exempt account already set up, or some of the fraternity and sorority life, they have vendors that are tax exempt and we go through there. Otherwise, you can click in store and then in the comments, you can just say, I'm going to be making an online purchase at, you know, wherever, and we'll just stick with that. And then you'll enter your phone number. This is where you would differentiate if you want a Gordon Food Service card to get bulk groceries, or if you want to go to, say, we're going to go to Kroger to get a veggie tray. So in this case, I'll say no, because I'm just going to go to Kroger. And then you would say, what store do you want to go to? I'd put Kroger here. What are you specifically purchasing? I'd say veggie tray for event on, you know, January 22nd for new member meeting, something like that. Try to be concise but brief. And then here you can pick out what day you want to pick out the card or pick up the card, and then there's also a time frame. And if none of those times work for you, you can just email me and we'll set you up. You'll click understand, you'll type your name out to sign, and then you'll submit it, and it comes to me. Just know that submitting the form does not mean that you have been approved for a card. It's based on availability. So please plan ahead if you can. If you are approved, I will send an email that lets you know that you've been approved, and I confirm the date and time to pick up that card. And sometimes if I'm booked up with P cards and I don't have any available, I'll be like, hey, I don't have a P card, so you can go to Kroger. Would you rather go to GFS? Or is there another day? You know, I try to work with you so that we can get your purchase made as quickly as possible. So I'm not going to submit that because I'm not going to submit a P card request, but I just wanted you to kind of look at it and get familiar with that form. So the next thing I want to go over, the last thing I want to go over is runway. Just a second here. Okay, here we go. So we are in runway now. This is our landing page. The middle here, you will have your showcases. Those are our most frequent vendors that the university uses. The big change, if you are not a new treasurer, if this is your second or third semester or whatnot, previously we did Amazon as we had people do it as an online purchase through the P card request form, and then I would make those purchases with a tax exempt account. However, the university has changed that, and now Amazon is available for you directly through a showcase button here and runway. So let's click on this and we'll just do something real quick so you see what it looks like. So let's just say we're going to buy this item here. You can do all your shopping like you normally would on Amazon. I'm going to add to my cart. Oh, and I should say this Business Prime, if it's your first time logging into it as a UD student, it may prompt you to kind of sign in. I just used my regular UD sign in, email and password, and it got me in set up really quickly. So, so I'm going to proceed to check out from here, and it's going to take me to the checkout page. University of Dayton Runway is my group. Then down here, it's already got my address default. So that's where my item's gonna come. And then I'm just gonna select use this payment method because it's pretty much saying you're gonna pay by invoice. This order requires approval. So I'm going to just say submit order for approval. And it's going to take me back to Runway, and it has built a cart for me. So I review my cart, make sure everything's there that I'd like. And then up here in the corner, I'm going to click proceed to checkout. And I just want to say that this is very important. Going forward, if I receive carts that do not have the FOPL information filled out or the business purpose right below it, I will be returning your cart for correction. I tried to keep up with students last semester, and it just really overwhelmed my workload. So I have to return these back to you if you do not have this complete. For the FOPL information, you can click on this pen, and you will go back to 1850, use that red button, the financial management tool, to find your FOPL, and you will begin to put it in here. You can use this for use the search function. Automotive injuries, here we go. So here's my SAE folks. But you're going to need to know your organization, the proper organization codes. That's why I tell you to go to 1850. They are a student organization, so I know it's going to be 700-223. If you're a sport club, it's going to be different. And then I can look for my account code, supplies. Oops. And we'll just say this is for miscellaneous supplies. And then, like I said, these last three fields are just the same for every student organization. You really just have to pay attention to those first, the fund org account. So use that financial management tool, and I'll save. Always hit save, or it will not save your number. And then under here, I do require, well, purchasing requires a business purpose. So please, items for Baja project build. So that's what they're working on right now, and I would save it. And from there, you would click assign cart. And you can search my name. I would say just search for first and last name only. Otherwise, it bogs down your results. So I've added myself here. You can add any notes if you'd like to tell me something before you send it. Also, if you are a sport club, you're going to be looking for Drew's name, not mine. And then after that, you'll just click assign, and then that comes right to me, and I approve it, and it goes through the approval queues, and your purchase comes to CSI, and I will let you know when it's time to pick it up. So I'm not going to submit this because I'm not ordering anything, but let's go back to this home page. And two real quick things. Down here below, you're going to have some forms. These first two areas, the non-catalogs, those are for, they generate POs. So this is for like repeat, like monthly expenses, or maybe a quote you've received for equipment rental for your event, where you've received a quote. One of these two boxes, whether it's more than or less than $10,000, you would use that to submit your quote for approval. If you have a check if you have an invoice to pay, you need to send a check to someone, that's where the payment request or check request form is, and you will click on that. The financial management tool walks you right through it, much like that reimbursement example I showed you before. And then the employee reimbursement, if you have a receipt to turn in, less any sales tax for reimbursement, then you would click on this employee reimbursements, even though you are a student. And then back over here, oh, also that Amazon, if you're having any trouble with Amazon, there are some tutorials or some information over here under Runway News, since it is a new function. So that's there to help you. And then if you need to check on suppliers down here on the left, where these three heads are huddled together, you can use the field to search and see if someone is already a supplier. If they're not a supplier, you can click request and then request new supplier. It's going to open a box, and then you can start, if it's not for yourself, you can initiate it for someone else, especially if it's someone external to UD. You just have to have a name and a legitimate email address. And then I always let that individual know that an email from Runway is going to be coming to them, because you'll just put those items in, you'll submit it. It'll generate an email that goes to them asking them to complete their taxable and personal information. And you can't be set up as a supplier until that has been returned. So I always urge students to let the potential supplier know that a Runway email is coming their way, and they need to complete that if they want to get paid. So making sure, I think that hits about everything for today. I'm going to go back to our slideshow, and here is your QR code for attendance. You feel free to scan that to check in. If you're having any trouble checking in, you can shoot me an email at studentorgsmoney@udayton.edu. Just let me know your name and the organization that you're representing, or all of them, because sometimes some of you are affiliated with more than one organization. So at this time, if anyone has any questions, I'm available.
I had a question.
Sure.
Yes, you said that the Gordon Food Service card was a separate card from everything else. What's
Yeah.
the process to get one of those?
So you will go through, like, you're requesting a P card, like I showed you, and then click, if you're going to Gordon Food Service, you would click yes. So when you are approved, you will just come in and sign for it like you would a P card. The only difference is that with Gordon Food Service, each of our student organizations are already set up with a purchase order. So you'll take a card with you that's like a laminated sheet, and it'll have a barcode on it. So you do your shopping, and then you go to the register to check out. You'll hand them the card and say, I have a tax exempt sale, and they just scan that barcode, and it goes directly out of your org funds.
Ah, okay, thank you. And one more thing.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I missed a little bit about the form stuff. Do we have to do that after we do our Runway purchases, or is that just for specific other things outside
That's
of
for different things. Yeah. So if you want to do the, you use the showcases, or you do like a vendor search if you want to shop from a particular store through Runway. But
Okay.
if you have a quote to upload because you need to get approved for equipment or whatnot, or you would use those non-catalog things. If you have a check that you want to send to someone, either maybe you got a donation or you're paying national dues or something like that, you would use that payment request or check request. You just have to upload an invoice there. And then, yeah, the employee reimbursements, that's just where you have a receipt that you would upload for reimbursement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for when we do use like P card stuff, we should make sure to hang on to the receipt to give back to you, right?
That's correct. So P cards, you just go through 1850. You don't need to go through Runway. Runway is just, if Runway, it's like either P cards or Runway. So the P card, obviously you can go out and make your purchases wherever. And then Runway is just another way to buy things where you're ordering online and it's tax exempt.
Right.
Or you're generating payments to someone. Yeah.
Okay. So we don't use P cards for catering.
No, you will actually, when you contact catering, they're going to ask you for your FOPL. You just give them your FOPL.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Uh, let me see. What is the largest number of students the university vehicles can hold for travel? I want to, that's just a chat here. I believe that they have 12 passenger vans. That's the biggest that I know of, Sarah. But you might want to give them a call and ask them directly what all they have. You're welcome.
I just had a quick question about funding
Yeah.
and sort of about like how much each organization. You said like up to $1,000.
Oh, for
How is
SGA.
that? Yes, how is that number like determined?
That is an SGA question.
Okay.
So I do know that like for Pepsi, I think, and I would imagine that it would be similar. So I'm going to give you my Pepsi example. So for Pepsi, I only get $5,000 that I can divide up among groups. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I do is put out the application, and based on the number of applicants, and also like I pay attention with the Pepsi applications. I try to pay attention to like what are you doing in the community, not just like, we just want food for our meeting. Like, are you having like any kind of community outreach, things like that. I look
Right.
at those kinds of things, and like last semester was the first time that I ever had to give like percentages due to the number of people who had applied compared to previous semesters. It was just a lot of people were applying, and they had very good um, events and programs that they were trying to get funding for. And then sometimes I will determine whether they get, everybody gets 80% of their ask or not. And I think the SGA does the same thing. I'm not sure how much money they get total for student organizations, but I think they look at what you're requesting and take that into consideration. And then based on that, they make their decisions. But that would be a great question if you wanted to reach out to SGA. I'm sure that they would be happy to answer that for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
then
Sure.
also just real quick, so for the Pepsi funding, is that just for like if you needed more money, like that would be like an additional opportunity or
Yeah.
okay.
Generally it's like a lot of times orgs want to go out and do things in the community, and they want to have like t-shirts. That's a big thing that people request Pepsi
Okay.
funding for, but then you have to have the Pepsi logo on your shirt.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, definitely. I say apply, since the cutoff is Friday. Go ahead and
Okay.
apply, and if you have any extra questions, you can email me directly. Um, I'll be out of the office tomorrow, but back in on Thursday. You could stop in as well, and we can
Okay.
discuss it a little bit.
Okay. Thank you so
Right.
much.
You're welcome. All right. Does anybody else have any questions tonight?
Yeah, I have a quick
Yeah,
question
sure.
of just who I might need to contact for
Yeah.
this. Um, there were just some issues on our 1850 budgeting page.
Okay.
Some of the purchases or payments we made back to individuals this past semester from fall funding are just not appearing
Okay.
when they once were in
Okay.
our accounting book. I just want to make sure, do those disappear after the
You
fall
said it
funding
was,
window?
so I know that the balances clear out.
Mhm.
But if you're looking for specific transactions for SGA, that's gonna be a Chris Fishpaul. You need to, he's in SGA. He oversees
Right.
SGA. I would ask, he also oversees 1850. So I would reach out to him if you have are you saying that like you made
The
payments and now they're gone?
Yeah, we made payments to individuals and they were approved and showing in our accounting book
And now
during the
they're
fall
gone.
semester. Now they're gone. I just wanted to make sure that those were processed and
Yeah.
that the people that we paid did
Okay.
get their money.
So one thing I do know that 1850 has been acting a little wonky. I know that Friday and today, So I would say that tomorrow, if you still see that same issue, contact Chris immediately and let him know.
Okay.
Because he's gonna be the one who, I have no access to any of the SGA stuff, so I would not be able to see that, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, I had a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So I really wanted to, I don't think you mentioned like say your organization I don't know, accumulates funds for like a charity of some sort.
Sure.
What would be the process of giving that to that nonprofit organization?
So, sure. So if you have, first you'll collect your funds, right? And then they're in your 1850 organization funds. And then if you decide on who you want to donate those funds to, you would, first you'd have, it's going to be done through Runway. So you have to make sure that that organization is set up as a supplier already. And if not, you can invite them through that last little, go through the three little heads, the supplier key, and you can initiate that process.
Okay.
Do you have an idea of who you're?
No, this is just
Okay, all
for
right. I was gonna say I could look right
for-
now. So yeah, so once you make sure that they're a supplier or set them up, then you can, because generally with a donation, you don't get invoiced from the company, so you can create an invoice yourself in Microsoft Word, just saying that you're being billed by the donor to your organization for, $700, whatever it is. And then like a
Okay.
nice little description. And then you'll go into Runway and you'll use that check request, payment request form function, one of those little blue boxes towards the bottom. And that's where you will complete that form and upload your, create the invoice you created. And then it'll submit a check.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, we got anybody else out there with a question? Going once. Going twice. Well, I just want to thank you all for meeting with me on this very cold day and going over this information. I know it's not super exciting, but hopefully it's helpful. If you have any questions as you're getting familiar with your role, please always reach out to me. I'm always happy to help or point you in the right direction. Otherwise, if no one has any other questions, I'm just going to say thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.